You wanted the best, you got them for abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a happy Precision Race Night to you all. Welcome to the Dre Broadcasting Network as we bring you live action from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Precision Racing League brings you the road trip RV rental by Cody Johnson for round 9 of the American iRacing Sunday Series, courtesy of HighTorqueTexas.com and the Brake Mod at thebrakemod.com. I'm your commentator, Sean Zulu. I am joined by my good friend and producer, Dave Everly. How are you tonight, buddy?
I'm doing great, Sean. How are you doing?
I am doing good too, thank you. Well, Dave, tonight we are racing here at Indianapolis, a very, very good track with long straightaways. It's almost like a super speedway, but not quite the same. But before we get into it, please tell us a little bit about tonight's race, please.
Well, as you said, we are at a 2.5-mile oval Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Taking a look at the weather, we got air temperature 82 degrees, track temperature of 91, the wind northwest at 2 miles an hour under clear conditions.
Yep, and as usual, the drivers do have a 60% fuel limit. That is 60%. Last week at Chicagoland Speedway, we had an amazing race. We saw at least 3 green flag pit stops and a lot of battles until the very end. And this will be for 80 laps. That is 80 laps. So a lot needs to be done by the drivers tonight for their success. Look, going back, speaking of last week's race at Chicagoland, we had James O'Brien bring it home. Colton Lane came out second. Corey Blevins came out third. Paul D. Johnson came out fourth. Jean-Francois Champagne fifth. Jason Ashby sixth. Lance Marsh seventh. Jeffrey Ford eighth. Chris Perez ninth. And Danny Duchesne did round up the top 10. And in that race, James O'Brien did take the pole and led us to our first green flag run. But Dallas Pataska, a few laps in, did help Freight Train James O'Brien, who was stuck out high and dry, and he did lose a lot of spots because of that. And Dallas Pataska did take over the race lead, which gave us our first lead change of the night. And we had some 2 wide, 3 deep battles from 6th place back, involving Jean-Francois, Poddy Johnson, Colton Lane, Markel Murphy, and Jason Ashby going at it early on in the race. And we saw drivers changing their race lines the longer the race went, going from low lane to high line, trying to save some tires, because that was a new tire model, and they were just pretty much playing with all lanes, trying to find their sweet spots. We also had some green flag pit stops, which put into play different strategies and spread out the field. And Paul D. Johnson did lose grip and smack the wall on the exit of turn 2, sending him into the grass and giving us our first caution of the night on lap number 90 of 125. That was a very amazing race, amazing start, because our first caution was on lap number 90. And we had so many battles with less than 10 laps remaining, involving Corey Blevins, Jean-Francois, Paul D. Johnson, as they were battling for the 3rd place spot. And 3 wide off turn 4 between Lance Marsh, Jason Ashby, and Jean-Francois Champagne for the checkered flag did separate them by fractions of a second, placing them in 5th, 6th, and 7th, respectively. And that race came out to James O'Brien unchallenged, 60 of Colton Lane unchallenged, 24 Blevins, Poddy Johnson, Jean-Francois, and also Jason Ashby. These guys were battling until the very end. And moving on to our current season standings leaders, or the points, we do have James O'Brien taking over the points lead away from Dallas Pataska. So James went from 3rd place to 1st place this week. Dallas went from 1st place to 2nd place in points, and they are separated by only 1 point. Corey Blevins Corey Blevins is still in 3rd after being tied with James O'Brien last week. Markel Murphy going from 2nd place to 4th. Jeffrey Ford from 4th to 5th. Lance Marsh still in 6th. Colton Lane still in 7th as well. We also have Stephen Aguiar in 8th place from 5th place. And also Colton Lane and Stephen Aguiar are both tied. Oh, not tied, but they're spread out by 1 point for 7th and 8th. And Paul D. Johnson, tonight's race sponsor, will be 9th in points from 8th. And Jason Ashby rounding up the top 10 from 9th in points. Going back to tonight's race here, we do have the drivers gridding up. And so far on the pole is the 88 of James O'Brien, last week's post-hitter. And James O'Brien did have his 2nd win in a row last week at Chicagoland after having his 1st win at Road America. And Paul D. Johnson, tonight's race sponsor, starting 2nd. The 23 of Craig Hawkins, 3rd. The 93 of Patrick Mercier, 4th. That 24 of Corey Blevins, 5th. And that does round up that top 5. The 5 of Jason Ashby starting 6th. The 27 of Danny Duchesne, 7th. 8-13 Mike Taylor, good to see him back. He did miss last week's race, starting 8th. The 13 of Jean-Francois Champagne, 9th. 28 of Eric Roberts, 10th. And that does round up that top 10. 41 Chris Perez, 11th. The 6 of Steven Mattox, 12th. The 45 of Eddie Hawks, 13th. 54 of Lance Marsh, 14th. 95 of Jeffrey Ford, 15th. And that 59 of David White being the last car with the qualifying time in the 16th place position. That is 1-6. The 60 of Colton Lane, 17th. The 9 of Austin Moore, 18th. The 17 of Jerome Berthom as well did miss last week's race at Chicagoland due to him having some events at the racetrack, because he is a flag marshal, like he had pointed out, at Road America, starting 19th. And that's 78 of Ron McManus, 20th. And that will round up our whole entire field here tonight. 20 drivers. That is 2-0 for 80 laps. That is 80 laps. Well, it's going to be an amazing race here tonight. I do have a feeling, and Dave, tonight the drives are running all the way from 51 second lap times to 52 seconds. So these drivers will be speeding.
Yeah, it's a fast sweeping track, so it should make for some great racing here tonight.
Oh, absolutely. And I also forgot to go over the teams of the drivers here, the top 10 in points. James O'Brien from Underdog Motorsports, Dallas Pataska from DAMP Motorsports, Corey Blevins Flat Out Motorsports, Mark Helmer from Flat Out Motorsports. So the two teammates are 3rd and 4th in points. Very nicely done by them. Jeffrey Ford from Ford Lane Motorsports, Lance Marsh, Big D's Racing, Cotton Lane, Ford Lane Motorsports, Stephen Aguiar, Wrangler Motorsports, Poddy Johnson, Big D's Racing, and Jason Ashby, Wrangler Motorsports. And also the 13 of Jean-Francois with Champs with Mercy. Well, going back up front here, we are still being led by the 88 of James O'Brien for the first run, for the first green flag run we're going to be getting here tonight. The drivers entering turns number 3 and 4. Actually, I lost track here. Is this turn 3? Yes, it is. We're entering turn 3, and we'll be entering turn 4 here coming up, because this track is a little bit different compared to other ovals.
Yeah, most definitely. They got some really distinguished four corners, but there is a gap in between them, as the pace car is now bringing them out of turn number 4, getting ready to go green flag racing here tonight. 80 laps here at Indianapolis as they are coming down the front stretch here with the pace car getting ready to dip in. Pace car is off. James O'Brien keeping them at pace speed. 23 Craig Hawkins all over his back bumper. Paul D. Johnson on the outside there with Patrick Mercier as the green flag flies and off they go. Hot diggity dog, it's time to go racing, boys.
Yep, that 14 of Paul D. Johnson got a better start than the 88 of James O'Brien, but backed off to let him have it. And here exiting turn 1, entering turn number 2, they will go side by side. Nope, the 88 of James O'Brien was cleared by the 14 of Johnson, but off turn 2, the 88 of James O'Brien will try and take over that race lead. That was rightfully his. And if Patrick Mercier pulling the 23 of Craig Hawkins, 88 James O'Brien on the inside of it, 14 of Poddy Johnson for the first place spot here. Entering turn 3, they're going side by side, and James O'Brien already got a little bit of a ding in his rear end, but and makes the pass successfully on Johnson, entering turn 4, and will have it on the exit of 4 as well.
Yeah, most definitely. These cars hitting right now 180 plus mile an hour as they are coming down the front stretch to the start finish line. James O'Brien leading lap number 1 as they come into turn number 1.
And for the back in the pack, the 24 of Corey Blevins here having a Sunday drive so far behind the 23 of Craig Hawkins for the 5th place spot with a 4th place position. And for the back in the pack, a 13 Mike Taylor riding as well behind the 13 of Jean-Francois Champagne. And Dave, this track reminds me of Kansas. It seems as though you have to make passes in the early on in the race, so the sooner you have, or I mean, as soon as you get new tires. Basically, what I'm trying to say is you make passes on newer tires compared to older tires, and if you do miss that chance, you will have no choice but to just ride single file.
Yeah, most definitely here taking a look. Most of these guys running in the low to mid 51 lap times, so everybody is. But here we got Jean-Francois Champagne looking to the inside of the 813 of Mike Taylor here, or that's the 27 of Denny DeShane, as he is going to complete that pass and take away that number 7 position here coming through turns 1 and 2.
And Dave going back up front, the 93 Patrick Mercier challenging the 14 of Johnson for the race lead. I mean, for the 2nd place position. They almost make contact. Holy cow, side drafting the crap out of each other. And right now trying to hunt down the 88 of James O'Brien. Unfortunately, we are missing our season standings, the champion from last season, the 1 of Pataska. But the 88 of James O'Brien, who just took over the points lead here, starting this week, is gladly leading this lap so far and qualified on the pole and had a 1st place practice time. And going for the back to 2nd place, 93 Patrick Mercier was able to take the 2nd place spot away from the 14 of Paul D. Johnson. And for the back in the pack, 45 Eddie Hawks here having a Sunday drive as well behind the 28 of Eric Roberts, who in turn is riding behind the 813. Actually, that's going to be the 6 of Steven Matos.
Had a little trouble there on the track as the 54 of Lance Marsh has spun out. He is getting his car turned back around here, trying to get back on the track here to see if we can pick it up on our instant replay. As we pull up the Dre Broadcasting instant replay, focusing on the 54 of Lance Marsh to see if we can see exactly what happened to him. Looks like coming through the turn, he is going to go up. Oh, make contact with that outside wall. That is going to shoot him down into the inside wall, but he keeps it below the white line, so the green flag will remain.
Yeah, very unfortunate indeed for the 54 of Lance Marsh. Yep, that wall did claim him. He tried his best to back off, but he was way too late. The wall was smiling and just gave him a great big hug the closer he was getting to it, but very unfortunate indeed for Lance Marsh, and that will bump him down to the 19th place spot. But looks of it, the 9 of Austin Moore is not racing tonight, so that gives us a 19 car field. But going back, further back up front ahead, we do have the 41 of Chris Perez here. Behind that 45 of Eddie Hawks. These guys pushing 195 before having to back off in the turns. In this turn, this is going to be turn number 3. And they are entering turn number 4 as we speak. And Dave, let's actually give the viewers a ride on the in-car, a full lap around the track. Let's actually ride on one of the drivers who is close to one another, so we can just watch how the draft plays a key role.
Well, unfortunately, we are having issues with our in-car cameras, so we will not be able to do the in-car here tonight.
Oh, 10-4, brother. Well, further back in the packet, 24 of Corey Blevins trying to catch the 13 of Jefferson. Right now, Jefferson has caught the 5 of Jason Ashby. These guys are separated by less than 0.1 of a second, and they are just drafting each other, trying their best to set each other up to catch up to the drivers in front of them. And these drivers having a 60%, the 60% fuel limit just might mean pit stops should be kicking in with about maybe above 20, in between 20 to 25 laps. And just got a word in, the 9 of Austin Moore is actually race control, so he is not racing. Sorry about that, Austin, but thank you for clarifying it.
Well, going back up front, it looks like James O'Brien has pulled out to about a 0.6 of a second lead over the 93 of Patrick Mercier. Patrick Mercier has actually pulled a gap there in between him and Paul D. Johnson of about 0.4. Paul D. Johnson, though, is still under fire. He's got the 23 of Craig Hawkins right behind him as they are trying to battle it out. But I think they're just trying to get a feel for the track here in the first half stages of this race.
Yeah, that most likely would be the case, and these guys are actually spread out evenly. For example, if you take Craig Hawkins towards Paul D. Johnson, the 93 Patrick Mercier towards Paul D. Johnson, and also James O'Brien towards Patrick Mercier. Yep, these guys are spread out evenly against each other. As we speak, the 23 of Hawkins is running down the 14 of Johnson off turn 2. He just might set him up. Looks like Paul D. Johnson ended up getting a better exit off turn 2, and because of that, that gap will increase slowly but surely as they approach turn 3.
Well, that's the thing, Sean, here. The draft, it will be key here tonight for coming in between turns 2 and 4 there on the front stretch and back stretch. So these guys will be using the draft. But on that front stretch, it'll be interesting because you'll see some drivers, they will dip out and go all the way down to the inside wall trying to break that draft, so the driver behind them can't use that draft to get a slingshot move.
Oh, absolutely. That just goes to show how strong the draft play is a factor here in these types of races at a track like this, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It is the closest thing to the super speedway like Talladega or Daytona International. So yeah, these guys are taking advantage of that and trying their best to not lose their opponents or the drivers in front of them, so they can try and benefit off of them. And once the green flag pit stops kick in, Dave, I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing a lot of drivers trying to stay with each other.
Yeah, most definitely. And taking a look at our chat, we do have folks out there. What's up, OSR Network, out there in the chat, checking out these guys, the Precision Racing League American iRacing Sunday Series. He is out there checking it out, checking the stream out. So welcome there, Joe from OSR Network.
It's great to see you out there, Joe. And Dave going back to the race at the 59 of David White for the back of the pack as well. David White keeps a low profile in the beginning of the races, but now he is being shown 12 seconds behind the leader. And unfortunately, we do have 54 of Lance Marsh on pit road. Looks like his pit crew is hard at work trying their best to straighten that machine out the best they can. Lance Marsh did get some heavy damage off the wall off turn. That was, I believe, entering turn 3. Actually, that was entering turn 4. And that did affect him negatively. So right now he's just pretty much hoping his pit crew has enough time to straighten that machine out so he can be able to put down as many laps as possible, because he is being shown 4 laps down, currently in the 19th place position, and dropping.
Moving up a little bit here, the 95 of Jeffrey Ford, we see him running right behind him. You have the 17 of Jerome Bartholomew running right behind him. They're a little off pace there. Meanwhile, they got a little gap there before they can get to the 13th place, which is going to be the 45 of Eddie Hawks, who is trying to chase down the 41 of Chris Perez.
And Dave, we do have a battle going on between the 93 of Patrick Mercier and the 88 of James O'Brien for the race lead. They'll be side by side entering turn 3. 88 of James O'Brien lets him take it, most likely set him up with the over and under off turn 4. Let's see what happens. No, Patrick Mercer takes that away, and his lead keeps getting nothing but bigger here on the front stretch between turns number 4 and turn 1. The caution will fly here on lap number 11. We are going to back it up and see who might have been involved. Oh man, big wrecking to some of Danny Duchesne at the 28 of Eric Roberts off the exit of turn 4 by the looks of it. Let's back it up and focus on the 27 of Duchesne on replay.
Well, as we pull up our Dre broadcast and replay, we're going to rewind it here. You have the 27 of Duchesne running to 24 of Corey Blevins right behind him. Duchesne hits that outside wall, goes into the inside, and unfortunately the 6 of Stephen Maddox and the 28 of Eric Roberts had nowhere to go as the 27 bounced off that inside wall. I mean, he hit that wall hard and shot him right up into the track. We're going to take another look here from the blimp view. We see the 27 hit that outside wall, go bounce onto the inside. Unfortunately, gets airborne and comes back up into the track, causing our first caution of the night.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate indeed. And as we speak, 27 Duchesne is getting towed down to pit road. And that car has definitely seen better days. It's beat up in almost every single way possible. But going back up front, still being led by 92 Patrick Mercier, 88 of James O'Brien second, 23 Craig Hawkins third, 14 of Paul D. Johnson fourth, and the 5 of Jason Ashby in the 5th place spot. And the 93 Patrick Mercier will lead them down to pit road this time by.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, Sean, but there is a lot of damage to that 93 Patrick Mercier, a lot of front-end damage there.
Absolutely. Oh, on my end, I'm not seeing any damage on Patrick Mercier. Most likely would be a glitch here in the simulator. Yeah, very, very unfortunate if maybe I'm seeing false stuff, or it might be you, but it's difficult to tell. But either way, that would be very unfortunate indeed.
Yes, I do apologize, folks. I have been having a little bit of an internet issue, so we are trying to ride it out. So I do believe that would be on my end. Yep, because there he is, 93 with a perfectly clean car. So that was just on my end. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize. Just bear with me as we are experiencing a little bit of internet issues at the moment.
And Dave, the race off pit road was won by the 88 of James O'Brien, so he will take the race lead away from the 93 of Patrick Mercier. And Patrick Mercier here will be bumped down to the 2nd place spot. And at this time, in this caution, we had every single driver go down pit road. Usually we do have some drivers staying out to try and lead a lap, but in this time it was not the case. But as we speak, we have the 28 of Eric Roberts down pit road. Eric Roberts was one of the drivers involved in the incident that brought out the caution, so he is on pit road getting some damage fixed. And unfortunately, we have lost one driver, 27 of Danny Duchesne, due to heavy damage. And this does give us some time to get a race interview in, so let's focus on the 93 of Patrick Mercier. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have the 93 of Patrick Mercier up here with us. Buddy? Patrick Mercier, can you hear me? Unfortunately, we're not able to get communications in with the 93 of Patrick Mercier. We will keep trying here before the race is over tonight. This does give us some time to get a race interview in with a different driver instead. Let's focus on the 23 of Craig Hawkins. Well, we do have the 23 of Craig Hawkins up here with us. Come up there, Craig.
Hey, Sean.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine. What about you?
Doing good too, thank you. Just enjoying the show you guys are putting on out there on the track. Notice you starting in third place spot and was battling heavily away the third place spot. But tell us about your race so far.
It's going good. I was batting the 14 there for going in the third, and this car it's way too tight, and I have to use a lot more brake than I want to. But so far, it's going good, and hopefully I can get up to James.
Oh, 10-4 sounds like a plan, and you do have the speed to get the job. Pulling you into the drivers, or do
The
you think it's
draft's not real big
important?
here. I'm body, and you just keep that car dance in between you. The only way you can catch up to him is to the tone, and they mess up going into the tone, Sean. That's the only way.
Oh, that definitely does make a lot of sense. So, yep, it does comes down to setting up the drivers on the exit of the turns to try and benefit from that. But, well, buddy, you are now coming to one green, doing an amazing job so far, scrubbing those tires, trying to put some heat into them to avoid spinning them here on the next upcoming restart. Well, brother, you're doing good so far, and we wish you the best of luck and make us proud.
Thank you, Sean. I'll try.
And that was 23 of Craig Hawkins, currently in the 4th place position. And we are back 1 to green here on this restart. We do have the 88 of James O'Brien, the 14 of Johnson on his rear end. And the 93 Patrick Mercier on the outside with the help of the 23 of Craig Hawkins. And this restart is the exact same as the start we had in the beginning before lap number 1. So it's the exact same lineup among the top 4 drivers. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we are having some technical difficulties, but we are trying our best to get them sorted out, and we do apologize. We'll try our best to bring you the action live here on the Dre Broadcasting Network at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for round number 9 of the PRL American iRacing Sunday Series. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the Road Trip RV Rental 80 by Paul D. Johnson here tonight at Indianapolis once again. And sees our race sponsor tonight, the 14 of Johnson, currently in the 3rd place spot behind the 88 of James O'Brien. And here this time they'll be exiting turn 4, going green, this time by. And I do have a feeling we have a long green flag run coming up, followed by green flag pit stops. That is something to look forward to, exiting turn 4. This time by the pacer will be ducking off. Fingers crossed. Yep, the pace car leaves the racing surface. 88 of James O'Brien still holding pace, but he puts it down the floor. He does catch him off guard. That 23 of Craig Hawkins all over 92 of Patrick Mercier like fudge cake on Sunday. And we'll try and help him propel past the 14 of Johnson. Nope, he dumps him and goes in behind the 14 of Johnson, entering turn number 1. The 93 of Patrick Mercier drives it in hard and will try and challenge the 14 of Johnson for the 2nd place spot here before the exit of turn 2. Off turn 2, 93 of Mercier does take it away from the 14 of Johnson. 23 of Hawkins will do the cross-off move on the 14 of Johnson for the 3rd place spot. 88 James O'Brien going down the racing surface there to try and break the draft between him and the 93 of Patrick Mercier. Just like David had been talking about early on in the race, the drivers will be trying their best to break the draft, to try and make sure the drivers behind them do not benefit from that. And for the back in the pack, 8-13, Mike Taylor trying to catch the 13 of Jean-Francois Champagne. We also have the 41 of Chris Perez for the back in the pack here, being challenged by the 17 of Jerome Berthon.
Yeah, most definitely these guys. You even got the 24 there of Corey Blevins right behind the 813 of Mike Taylor. He's got Jason Ashby and Eddie Hawks there behind him, as these guys are battling it out here in the back of the field, as we are now 64 laps remaining here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Absolutely, still a long way to go. Green flag pit stops do need to take place. We should expect to see at least 2 to 3 pit stops, for these drivers' success tonight for 80 laps. Well, just like Dave said, we had 64. We have 64 laps remaining at this point. So once those green flag pit stops kick in, we will separate or spread out the field. And we do still have some drivers on pit road to gain some damage fix. Eric Roberts, Steven Mattox, and Danny Duchesne. Well, Danny Duchesne has disconnected, but Lance Marsh has now exited pit road by the looks of it. Yep, his pit crew was able to beat that thing out enough, Dave, for it to get some speed. Right now he is pushing about 182 miles an hour and climbing, and I believe he did hit about 183 before he had to back off in the turn. So that's enough speed to get the job done. And we do have one driver down pit road. It's the 23 of Craig Hawkins. Oh, looks like we've lost Craig Hawkins. Craig Hawkins having some technical difficulties there, connection problems. Hopefully he can get it sorted out and come back out into the track here to try and stay competitive. But when he dropped, he was in the third place position. But going back up front, the 88 of James O'Brien has increased his lead about 0.6 of a second. Actually now up to 0.9, almost a second ahead of the 93 of Patrick Mercier.
Yeah, he looks like James O'Brien's got this track down, as he is just putting down some wicked lap times here. So far, running the best lap time of the night with a 51.537. He has led 16 of the 18 laps already ran.
Yeah, but speaking of James O'Brien, if he does win this race, well, he did take the pole. He's the third time in a row here. Tonight was his third. But if he wins tonight's race as well, it's going to be his third win in a row, because he did win at Road America. He won last week at Chicagoland. And tonight, so far, doing an amazing job. But it's not over until it's over. We do see things go from good to bad and bad to good for most drivers at tracks like these. So we'll keep my mouth shut, and I'm not going to even jinx him. So I won't talk about that too much. In the 8th, Mike Taylor right now catching up to the 13 of Jean-Francois Champagne for the 4th place spot. And for the back in the pack as well, the 24 of Corey Blevins here, who is third in points, two points behind the one of Dallas Pataska, who is in second, is catching the 8-13 of Mike Taylor. So it's just pretty much a chain reaction of drivers catching each other here in the from all the way from 4th place back to 6th.
Yeah, most definitely 8 laps here since they've last pitted. So we still got a little bit of going. 61 laps here remaining. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take our first commercial break here of the evening. We'll give you a chance to refill your drinks and refill your snacks, and we will be right back.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Road Trip RV Rental by Paul D. Johnson for round 9 of the Precision Racing League American iRacing Sunday Series, courtesy of HighTorqueTexas.com and the Brake Mod at thebrakemod.com. Well, going back to the race here, we did have some technical difficulties with the 88 of James O'Brien, who lost connection to the server, same as the 23 of Craig Hawkins. So James O'Brien did lose the race lead because of that, but he is trying to come back into the session, and that did give the race lead over to the 93 of Patrick Mercier. Paul D. Johnson bumped up into second place. Jacques-Francois Champagne third. Jason Ashby fourth. A13 Mike Taylor fifth. 24 of Corey Blevins in the sixth place spot. And before we went to commercial break, we did have the 5 of Jason Ashby back there in the 6th place spot. And he was able to get around the 24 of Blevins and the A13 of Mike Taylor and bumped him up 2 spots into 4th place. And right now trying to hunt down that 13 of Jacques-Francois. He down with a big run off the exit of turn 4 on him. He's going to look to his inside here on the front stretch. Entering turn 1. Let's see if he has him. Entering turn 1. Oh, yes, looks like the 5 of Jason Ashby did drive it in hard. And that 13 of Jacques-Francois did back off early, most likely to set him up and might have him off turn 2. Let's see what happens. Looks like Jacques-Francois had some trouble there in the turn, and the A13 of Mike Taylor did benefit from that mistake. And that's going to bump Jacques-Francois down to the 5th place position. But right now, A13 Mike Taylor will be behind the 5 of Jason Ashman. He is catching him here on the exit of turn 3. And up front, the 93 of Patrick Mercier is just pretty much increasing his lead, having a Sunday drive.
Yeah, most definitely here is we have now only got, looks like David White is down on pit road as we speak. But Lance Marsh is back out on the track 2 laps down. Ronald McManus is going to be the last car here on the lead lap in 12th position.
Oh, absolutely tough night for most of these drivers out there. And David, we do have a driver checking in to the chat. It's a 911 of John LaBeouf. Good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing good. Oh, Dave for the back in the pack, 13 of Jacques-Francois right now challenging the A13 of Mike Taylor, battling for the 4th place spot. A13 will try and maintain the outside line here on the exit of 3. The 13 of Jacques-Francois might clear him. Yes, he does. Entering turn 4 on the exit of 4. He's going to do the crossover move. He has a big run on his back bumper. He's going to look to his inside. Yes, he does. He gets a big run off turn 4. Very nicely done. Very nicely set up by Mike Taylor. And they'll be side by side toward the front stretch. Entering turn 1, but that still will give the 13 of Jacques-Francois the 4th place spot. A13 Mike Taylor drives in hard into turn 1. The 13 of Jacques-Francois tries to do the crossover move and has to back off due to not having enough room, but tries to look to his inside. Entering turn 2, yes, he will look to his inside. They'll be side by side here in between turns 1 and 2. And on the exit of 2, they stay side by side. And A13 of Taylor will try and propel past him using a slingshot off turn 2. The 13 of Jacques-Francois doing an amazing job regardless. Trying to maintain it, and he does kill him successfully. Entering 3, but due to the braking difference, they still stay side by side.
Well, Sean, looks like the 88 of James O'Brien has got back into the server after having some connection issues. He is 7 laps down, running into 15th position, but he is back out on the track, putting down some more laps.
Yep, that's very, very good to see him coming back on the track, despite having those technical difficulties and coming back with 7 laps down. Hopefully he can get all his laps back. He will be hoping for 7 cautions so he can be able to get all these laps back. And maybe he might be able to get his laps back the hard way. And now the drivers up front, Dave, do have 18 laps on their tires. We have one driver down pit road getting some service from the green flag pit stops. It's 17 of Jerome Berthome, first driver pitting in under green. He misses pit stop. He backs up a little bit. He's going to lose some time because of that. Oh, backs up some more. He's going to lose a lot of time because of that. Hopefully it doesn't affect him too much.
Yes, it looks like the right side goes up. They drop the right side, left side up. He is going to take 4 tires and a full tank of fuel as he is now working his way off of pit road here. But it looks like he is going to go a lap down because the 93 of Patrick Mercier has passed him. So he's going to come out 1 lap down.
Yeah, Dave, hopefully once the leaders pit in, he should be able to get his lap back. But it's very difficult to tell because the pit stops take about 12 to 15 seconds depending on how fast the pit crew is. And this track, the drivers get around it in about 51 to 52 seconds. So I doubt he'll be able to get his lap back, but it's very, very difficult to tell at this point. But he is now being shown about 31 seconds back. But once first start finish, and it's going to update, because that was the previous lap. So yeah, he did lose a lap, like you had pointed out. And if Mercer did get around him, so he's most likely hoping for a caution to save him, and so he can be able to get his lap back. And going back up front to the 5 of Jason Ashby here. Oh, actually, the drivers are down pit road. Probably just on down pit road. We have Jason Ashby on pit road and 813 of Taylor. All the drivers here down pit road, but the top 4 drivers now. Patrick Mercier, Jacques Francois, Chris Perez, Eddie Hawks, and also Jeffrey Ford. These drivers staying out, including Cotton Lane and Ron McManus. But everybody else so far has pitted in or is down pit road.
Yeah, it looks like these guys went, as you said, right about 20 laps on their tires, and they decided to come down in. Top 4, actually it'd be the top 7 there, have yet to pit. Includes Colton Lane and Ronald McManus, but Jeffrey Ford, Eddie Hawks, Chris Perez, Jean-Francois Champagne, and Patrick Mercier still to pit.
And speaking of Patrick Mercier and Jean-Francois, these drivers, first and second respectively, are spread out about 7.7 seconds. Crossing start finish line this lap here. And we do have one driver of those drivers that I talked about pitting in this time by. It's the 41 of Perez, and Eddie Hawks accompanying him right behind. And the drivers once again having 20 laps on their tires. If that's the case, Dave, we should expect to see at least 2 more pit stops, because we do have 48 laps remaining.
Yeah, most definitely. But Patrick Mercier, Jean-Francois Champagne, Colton Lane, and Jeffrey Ford all with 21 laps. See how long they're going to stay out and push it, because them guys on newer tires are going to catch up to them in a hurry.
Oh, that's absolutely right. And once those guys get new tires, they will be putting the 19 of Mercy right now backing off turn 4, pitting in this time by, and that might pass over the race lead to the 13 of Jean-Francois if he does not pit it. No, Jean-Francois pitting in this time by as well. Next in line is the 95 of Jeffrey Ford. Jeffrey Ford here exiting turn 4. Yes, he's staying out one more lap, so he will take over the race lead here on lap 34. Oh, it's going to be 34 once cross start finish line.
Yeah, that just leaves him and Colton Lane there left to pit. We are taking a look here at Colton Lane. Colton Lane is going to go another lap here, so they should be possibly pitting here real soon.
Oh yeah, and Jeffrey Ford just pretty much staying. I'm sure he's just staying out to lead a lap to get that extra bonus point. Those bonus points do end up making a difference in the long run and provide or act as a safety barrier in case these drivers have bad races. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, we did pass the halfway mark 3 races ago. This is now round number 9 of a 12-race season. So it has been go time for the past 2 races. For the drivers, so everything has changed, and Jeffrey Ford here still staying out one more lap. That's going to give him 23 laps on his tires. Cotton Lane knew the exact same thing, and Cotton Lane will be bumped up into the second place spot this time by. Speaking of Cotton Lane, Cotton Lane pitting in this time by, and that will give him 22 laps on his tires, and that's when enter Ron McManus getting around him. And look at that, Dave. The 17 of Jerome Berthon was actually able to get his lap back. Even every single time I say something, or every time we say something up here in the booth, the drivers do end up proving us wrong. Like I talked about, the 17 of Jerome Berthon was not going to be able to get his lap back the hard way. Well, he did prove me wrong right there. So he's back on the lead lap here in the 11th place position and trying his best to catch his next victim, the 45 of Eddie Hawks. They are spread out, or were spread out for only 1.1 second actually. Crossing start finish line last lap, and that has gone up to 2 seconds this time by, but he does have him in his sights, so he's still determined to get the job done.
Yeah, it's still, we haven't even reached the halfway point of tonight's race here. We are 46 laps to go here in the Road Trip RV Rental 80 here at the Precision Racing League Sunday iRacing, or the American iRacing Sunday Series, brought to you by Precision Racing League.
Oh, and the caution has flown here on lap number 35. This is going to be a good thing, but some drivers, let's back it up and see who might have been involved in that. Oh, looks like the 24 of Corey Blevins sustained some heavy left side damage. Yes, 24 of Blevins was involved in that. Let's back up on Corey Blevins and see what happened on replay.
Well, as we focused on the 24 of Corey Blevins, he just got around to 93 of Patrick Mercier. Ooh, I'm not sure, but it looks like there might have been a little contact there, sending him into the inside wall, bounced him back up. Let's take a look here from the blimp view to see if we can see exactly what happened. Is Patrick Mercier and Corey Blevins were battling it out here. They were battling.
Well, this is now lap number 36 of 80 with 45 laps remaining. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will take our second commercial break of tonight's race, so you guys can get your second round of popcorn and refreshments, and so we can thank our sponsors. We'll be right back, so stay tuned.
Don't let your first date be your last. Visit People Against Distracted Driving at PADD.org.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them four abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Road Trip RV Rental 80 by Paul D. Johnson, part of Round 9 of the American iRacing Sunday Series by the Precision Racing League. And it is sponsored by HighTorqueTexas.com and the Brake Mod at thebrakemod.com. We're going back to tonight's race here, and also for the spellings of High Torque Texas, you do have High Torque on the top left of your screen, thanks to Dave Everly with Dre Broadcasting, and also the Brake Mod on the top right of your screen behind the lap counter. We're going back to the race here. We do have the 93 Patrick Mercier in the lead, 14 of Johnson second, 5 of Jason Ashby third, 8, 13 Mike Taylor fourth, and the 13 of Jean-Francois in the 5th place position. And Dave, this caution was a good thing for a lot of drivers out there. For example, the 88 of James O'Brien, and also 78 of Ron McManus, and the 17 of Jerome Berthome. Well, for the two drivers, Ron McManus and James O'Brien trying to get their laps back, and Jerome Berthome getting back up to pace.
Yeah, it looks like right now we should be able to make it possibly on one more pit stop here. These guys are now getting to 1 to green. Let's go back. Green flag racing here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yep, and if my calculations are right, we should see our next round of green flag pit stops with about, let's see, with about 28 laps remaining in between laps 25 through 28, because the most we saw a driver go on tires was the 95 Jeffrey Ford. He went up about 23 laps on his tires, so we can assume that was him running his tank dry. So with 25 to 28 laps remaining, we should see our next round of green flag pit stops. And unfortunately, we have had one more driver retiring early for the night, the 28 of Eric Roberts, who was involved in an early incident early on tonight, which brought the first caution of the night. Very, very unfortunate indeed. We'll look forward to seeing him for round 10 at Auto Club Speedway next week for the Top Gun Motorcycle Training 100. But going back to the race here, we are entering turn number 4, going green. This time buying this lineup, we have 93 of Patrick Mercer, the 5 of Ashby on his rear end, the 14 of Johnson, and 813 of Taylor on the outside line, challenging Patrick Mercer for the race lead. Here exiting, oh actually this is exiting turn number 3. You keep reminding myself that these turns are different compared to the other ovals that we usually run, but it's not too difficult to remember. We're now exiting turn 4, going green this time by the pace. We'll be ducking off shortly. The pace car is off. Patrick Mercer still holding pace speed. These guys getting bunched up nice and tight right behind him. He puts it down to the floor. He does get a good jump on everybody. 14 of Johnson does see it coming. 813 Mike Taylor costly. The 5 of Jason Ashby benefits from Mike Taylor's mistake. And Ashby right now trying to toss into the inside of 14 of Johnson, but Johnson will close the door, entering turn 1. That 813 of Mike Taylor propels, exiting turn 1 with the 14 of Johnson on his tail. He is trying to shake him off, or will try his best to shake him off on the exit of turn 2. Let's see who has a better exit. They were pretty much even, so that gap will stay consistent. And for the back in the pack, 95 Jeffrey Ford riding behind the 13 of Jacques Francois for the 5th place spot, catching up to him actually, entering turn 3. For the back in the pack, 17 of Jerome Berthome battling side by side with 45 of Eddie Hawks for the 8th place spot. They do go back, single foul, nope, they now back double foul. Exiting turn number 4, the 88 of James O'Brien right beside them. He takes them 3 wide. 17 of Jerome in the middle, going to make it stick. 45 of Eddie Hawks on the outside line. 88 James O'Brien on the left side. 17 of Jerome does back off to let them go back double wide. And James O'Brien will occupy the inside of the 45 of Eddie Hawks. That is not for position. James O'Brien was able to get 2 laps back, so he is back to 5 laps down from 7 laps down. Very nicely done on his part, and right now he is overtaking the 45 of Eddie Hawks, at least trying to, from the exit of 2 there. The 45 of Eddie Hawks did get the slingshot and still will stay side by side with him, but right behind him is the 17 of Jerome Berthome. Oh, Jerome Berthome thought about taking it 3 wide, but ran out of room there as they were approaching the turn 3, so he did back off and pretty much went back single foul, same as the 45 of Eddie Hawks. But right now the 17 of Jerome Berthome will be trying his best to set up the 45 of Eddie Hawks here before too long. And that 88 of James O'Brien right now is on the move as we speak, trying to hunt down his next victim in line. Let's see who's that in line. It's going to be the 60 of Colton Lane, currently in the 7th place spot, and Colton Lane as well catching up the 95 of Jeffrey Ford, and he will stay high to let James O'Brien by. And going back up front, the 813 of Mike Taylor here behind about 0.2 seconds, or 0.2 of a second behind the 5 of Jason Ashby. And Jason Ashby is catching up to the 14 of Cody Johnson. The last green flag round we had, the 5 of Ashby was very, very fast and man on a mission trying to get the job done. And right now he is catching up to that 14 of Johnson once again on this straight stretch. He has the 813 of Mike Taylor as well in his sights. So he does have to worry about two things: overtaking the 14 of Johnson, at the same time trying to hold off the 813 of Mike Taylor.
Well, Sean, taking a look here, Patrick Mercier up in front, dominating so far here. He has led 24 laps here tonight. James O'Brien leading 17 and Jeffrey Ford leading 2. So taking a look at our mid-race report, we've had 2 cautions here tonight, 5 lead changes, and that was between 4 drivers. So as we are beyond our halfway point with just 37 laps remaining.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of lead changes done so far and a lot more to come. Yep. These drivers will be trying their best. We have seen a lot of drivers staying out a lot on their tires for the pit stops, where we saw like the 95 Jeffrey Ford trying to lead a lap, which he did, to get the extra bonus points. It just goes to show how important these drivers take those points. Even if it's just 1 point they're getting for leading a lap, it still does make a difference in the long run. And these guys definitely trying to take advantage of that, as it does provide a safety barrier in case anything were to happen. If they have a bad race or something along those lines. And they, further back in the pack, we have 2 drivers riding nose to tail. It's going to be 41 of Chris Perez. Chris Perez, we've spoken a much of Chris Perez here tonight, but as well, he does keep a low profile, a man of a few words. He does know how to get the job done. We did have a word with him last week at Chicagoland, and so far has worked his way up into the top 10 in the 9th place spot, ahead of a 60 of Lane. And right now, 88 of James O'Brien. In front of James O'Brien, we do have a battle going on here. I'm going to try and catch this. It's going to be up front by the looks of it. 813 of Mike Taylor and the 13 of Jean-Francois. The drivers were side by side. They went nose to tail, exiting side by side, and ended up going nose to tail on the exit of turn 1. But entering turn number 2 here, they are still nose to tail. And the 13 of Jean-Francois got a better exit than the 813 of Mike Taylor did. So 13 of Jefferson will benefit from that, and he benefits from it by catching up with 5 of Jason Ashby here on the backstretch, entering turn 3.
Yeah, the 13 there, Jean-Francois Champagne, looking great in that the brake mod Chevy Camaro there. He is starting to get all over the back door there of Jason Ashby. So he's got a watch, but looked like Paul E. Johnson there might have checked up. Nope. Looks like they were trying to break up the draft there, and it looks like Jean-Francois Champagne is going to pass the 5 of Jason Ashby on the outside.
Yeah, Jason Ashby on the exit of 4 just went down to the bottom lane to try and break the draft, but ended up slowing down to let the 13 of Jean-Francois get by him. Jason Ashby most likely trying to save some tires, Dave, to try and maybe stay out longer, so he can have a guaranteed one more pit stop here. Before the race is over. So he is just pretty much trying to play smart, trying to set himself up for the long run, to try and separate himself from the rest of the pack, and maybe take over the race lead later on in the race when everybody else has to pit in one more time, and he already has pitted in. So that is something to look forward to. And up front, the 14 of Johnson here, it does seem to be keeping a constant gap between him and the leader, 93 of Patrick Mercier. And up front here, we do have, actually it's further back in the pack, we have a cluster going on. It's going to be including 88 of James O'Brien, who's caught up to the 813 of Mike Taylor, Jason Ashby, 13 of Jean-Francois, and the 14 of Johnson. These guys are very, very close to each other, as James O'Brien gets a big run on the 813 of Mike Taylor, and Mike Taylor goes down to the inside line to let him have the outside, and James will make the pass successfully, entering turn 3. And Dave, at this, with the pace of the 88 of James O'Brien, no doubt he'll be able to catch the 93 of Mercier in no time.
Yeah, he is a man on a mission, but unfortunately with his internet connection, he has been placed 5 laps down, so he's got some work to do, and we are down to 33 laps remaining here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Oh yeah, and once he gets around the 93 of Patrick Mercier, who is the leader, he will be getting one more lap back, and that's him getting 1 lap back, so he will be down to 4 laps down. And if a caution comes out, he will be able to get one more wave around, and that will put him back down to 3 laps down. That's wishful thinking for James O'Brien right there. He does have a 13 of Jean-Francois in his sights. He does see the bigger picture at this point, And for the back in the pack, the 41 of Chris Perez was overtaken by the 45 of Eddie Hawks. And these drivers are in each other's draft, trying to work with each other, working together, trying to catch up to the drivers next in line in front of them. The 17 of Jerome Berthome being one of the drivers. And these three drivers, Jerome Berthome, Eddie Hawks, and Chris Perez, are within once. Oh, the 17 of Jerome, holy cow, he almost smacked the wall on the exit of turn 4. He backed off a lot, and because of that, the 45 of Eddie Hawks and the 41 of Perez will get around him, as though he's sitting on jack stands. But holy cow, that bunches them up once again. I mean, they were within less than 1 second of each other. And now this tightens them up once again. And they have the 41 of Perez here checking up behind the 45 of Eddie Hawks to let him maintain it. And they'll set each other up on the exit of 2. '41 of Chris Perez right. Oh! Perez backs off way early off the 45 of Eddie Hawks, caught the 17 of Jerome off guard. He almost rammed him, and that did cause the 17 of Jerome Berthome to lose a lot of time because he had to brake sooner, brake more actually, to avoid getting to the back of the 41 of Chris Perez to avoid causing trouble. And going back up front, Dave, we have had a position change between the 14 of Johnson and the 13 of Jean-Francois Champagne, and right now they are still side by side. The 14 of Johnson takes it back from the 13 of Jean-Francois, which was the second place spot. And Jean-Francois will be getting freight trained. The 5 of Jason actually trying to take advantage of the 13 of Jean-Francois as we speak as well. But the 8 of James O'Brien will be on his inside as well behind the 14 of Johnson. And the 13 of Jean-Francois is still being able to maintain his spot and not losing too much time. And that 88 of James O'Brien right now trying to set up the 14 of Johnson, getting around him to try and catch the leader. And the leader is now about 3 seconds ahead of these drivers. Actually, 4 seconds. Yep, that's about 4.5 seconds and increasing. So he has put away a lot. And 88 of James O'Brien right now challenging the 14 of Johnson, and will pull the 13 of Jean-Francois with him. Well, Jean-Francois will follow him to try and use the same race line to get around Paul D. Johnson for the second place spot. And Davis now gives the leaders about, well, Patrick Mercier now has 19 laps on his tires. Paul Johnson has 21 laps on his tires. And Jean-Francois 19 laps. Jason Ashby 21. And Mike Taylor 21. So we should expect some green flag pit stops here in the next 1 to 5 laps for the drivers.
Yeah, most definitely. These guys will need to go at least 4 more laps, maybe 5. In order to be able to finish this race on a 1 more pit stop strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. These drivers right now most likely trying to run the tank dry so they can be certain that they will be able to finish it without having to save any gas, because saving gas would mean driving at slower speeds, and that means losing a lot of time, and you most likely will get lapped and lose a lot of spots because of that. And these drivers definitely trying their best to avoid that. And the 13 of Jefferson here still challenging the 14 of Johnson, but Johnson won't let him go without a fight, and that pulls in the 5 of Jason Ashby. And Jefferson was able to get around the 14 of Johnson here on the exit of turn 3 and entering turn 4. He has him as well. And that 5 of Ashby as well is trying to use the exact same tactic. Oh, the 14 just backs off. So there's 5 of Jason Ashby peeling off down a pit road this time. Yep, that's the first 2 drivers, their final pit stops of the night. Hopefully, Paul D. Johnson and Jason Ashby. And Patrick Mercier still staying out. Jean-Francois up in second. 8th, Mike Taylor bumped up to 3rd. Jeffrey Ford up to 4th, and 41 of Chris Perez in the 5th place spot. And that so far does round up our top 5. And 17 of Jerome Berthome here being shown 12 seconds behind the leader. And he does have the 45 of Eddie Hawks right behind him in his draft, actually. So these guys are not too far apart at all. And for the back in the pack, David Droverman spoken matchup tonight. He hasn't had some bad luck. 59 of David White still going nice and strong. He was on pit road for the longest time. His pit crew was hard at work trying to straighten that machine out to give it enough speed for it to be able to maintain pace and so far doing an amazing job. He is being able to stay above 170 miles an hour max. So that is very, very good to see. His picker did an amazing job on that machine. And he is going nice and strong, being shown 11 laps down, but hopefully should be able to get some laps back once the pit stop cycle through.
Yeah, taking a look here, though, he's going to have to pit. He's 19 laps since his last pit. Jeffrey Ford moving up into third place there is, looks like Mike A. Taylor has broke off and went down on pit road.
We have some word on 54th Lance Marsh. Also, Lance Marsh had some bad luck early on in the race. His pit crew has been hard at work ever since, and I believe his incident was on lap, that was, I believe, before lap number 10, I believe. Yeah, that was before lap number 10. Forget the exact lap. But now he says he has only 8 minutes remaining until his pit crew is done, or before his pit crew is done fixing that machine. So he should be back out and running here in no time. Very, very good to see his pit crew hard at work, trying to straighten it out. And we do have a lot of drivers down pit road. Patrick Mercier, Jean-Francois, Jerome Berthaume, and Ron McManus down pit road as we speak. And also Jean-Francois has joined them, and that passes over the race lead to the 95 of Jeffrey Ford. And this will be Jeffrey Ford's third lap lead.
Yeah, but he is now under fire from the 41 machine of Chris Perez, who has not led any laps here tonight. He is going to get around the 95 of Jeffrey Ford, take over that race lead here out of turn number 3 and coming into turn number 4.
Yep, if Chris Perez lead, that will give him his first lap lead of the night here, and so far he does have 4 laps less on tires compared to Jeffrey Ford. He has 17 laps on his tires, now 18 this lap, and Jeffrey Ford with 22 laps on his tires, and they are overtaking some drivers who are just exiting pit road. 13 of Jean-Francois, and also a couple of other drivers, but 45 Eddie Hawks as well, still going nice and strong. So far everyone has pitted except for 4 drivers. Can't speak, I'm sorry. That's going to be Chris Perez, Jeffrey Ford, Eddie Hawks, and Cotton Lane.
Yeah, it looks like right now, I mean, my calculations are correct. It looks like Chris Perez is in a really good position. Only 18 laps since his last pit. Most we've seen a driver out is 24 laps. We are 24 to go. So he has definitely got enough where he can make it on one pit stop. The question is does everybody else that is already pitted?
Oh, yep, that's a very, very good question. If Jeff Ford is running his tank dry with 24 laps on his tires last round of green flag pit stops, that would mean the drivers who pitted in before that will not be able to make it. Might be 1 to 2 laps short. So that's something to look forward to. And then the 41 of Chris Perez still deciding to stay out. 95 Jeff Ford doing the exact same thing. 45 Eddie Hawks and the 60 of Carlton Lane. At the 95 of Jeffrey Ford and 41 of Chris Perez here on the back straight. When looking at the 88 of James O'Brien, he is being shown 5 laps down here. So he is still determined to get his lap back the hard way. And his next victim is the leader, the 93. Oh, the previous leader, the 93 of Patrick Mercier. And once all the green flag pits of cycle out, the race lead will be passed back over to the 93 of Patrick Mercier, who was leading before he went down pit road and gave it up to the 95 of Jeffrey Ford and the 41 of Chris Perez. And we have 95 of Jeffrey Ford going down pit road this time by. And we now have about 22 laps remaining here on lap number 59. So we will take another commercial break so you guys can get your next round of popcorn and refreshments. We'll be right back, so stay tuned. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back here to the Road Trip RV Rental. As we continue round number 9 of the Road Trip RV Rental Cody Johnson sponsored race of the Precision Racing League American iRacing Sunday Series, brought to you by HighTorqueTexas.com, which is in top left of your screen, and the Brake Mod at thebrakemod.com, and that's in the top right of your screen as well. Well, going back to the race here, we do have the previous race leader taking over the race lead back from the 41 of Chris Perez, who was the leader before he went to commercial break. But Patrick Mercer did take over the race lead. 5 Jason Ashby bumped up to second, 14 of Johnson third, A13 Mike Taylor fourth, Jerome Berthome fifth, Jeffrey Ford sixth, Chris Perez seventh, Eddie Hawks eighth, and Cotton Lane ninth, and Jean-Francois 10th, and so far Jean-Francois being the last car on the lead lap, and all the drivers have pitted in, and so far the driver with the most laps on his tires would be actually 2 drivers, Jason Ashby and Cody Johnson. But at this point it's very, very difficult to tell whether or not the drivers would be able to make it, because we had talked about how 24 laps on tires was the maximum before the drivers could run the tank dry.
We'll take a look at this. The 93 of Patrick Mercier back down on pit road. He realized he was not going to make it on fuel. He's got to come down and top off. That is going to hand the race lead over to the 5 of Jason Ashby. Jason Ashby with 12 laps since his last pit stop, 16 laps to go. That means he has got to go 28 laps on a full tank.
Oh man, yeah, this is something to look forward to, ladies and gentlemen. Once some of the drivers here won't be able to make it, and something tells me we're going to have a lot of drivers backing off, Dave, to try and save some gas. And I'm looking at some damage here, some new damage in the 14 of Johnson's Ford Mustang that was not there before. And it is on the right front or the right side of the machine, so he most likely did smack the wall. And he has the A13 of Mike Taylor on his tail.
Yeah, taking a look here, about the only drivers right now that I can see that'll definitely make it on fuel will be Patrick Mercier. He just pitted. Jeffrey Ford, he's got 7 laps with still 16 to go. Not sure he'll be able to make it. Chris Perez, Eddie Hawks, and Colton Lane all should be able to make it easily on fuel.
And look at that, Dave. Pit road is busy once again. We have more drivers on pit road. We have Jason Ashby and Cody Johnson following the lead of the 93 of Patrick Mercier. So at this point, it's just a matter of who else is going to be pitting in, who else is going to follow the lead of the leaders. Like you talked about, most of the drivers you talked about there who did run their tanks dry and stayed out the longest on their tires or on their tanks should most likely will be and should be able to make it all the way. And that 5 of Jason Ashby and the 14 of Johnson get out of pit road, nose to tail, and that passes the race lead over to the A13 of Mike Taylor.
Yeah, A13 Mike Taylor, he is now 13 laps on his tires, 15 laps to go. That's going to put him at 27 laps total on this run. So he's probably going to have to come in. And then in second place right now is going to be Jeffrey Ford. Taking a look at Jeffrey Ford, he pitted 9 laps ago. He's right there on that brink as well. It is going to come down to a fuel mileage window here tonight.
It definitely will be a fuel mileage race here tonight. This will work out for some drivers, but not for most, or not for others. Because some drivers will most likely be staying out to try and save gas, and for most of them who will be trying to save gas, well, it's very difficult to save gas for a whole lap as it is at a track like this. This track is very fast, it's very long. In total, it is 2.5 miles. But the 8th of Mike Taylor going down pit road right now as we speak for his final pit stop of the night. So tonight has been a 3 pit stop race. And he will be able to make it as well. That is confirmed. That should pass the race lead over to the 95 of Jeffrey Ford.
Yeah, it's going to move Jeffrey Ford into the race lead. It's going to put Chris Perez in second, Eddie Hawks third, and Jerome Bartholomew fourth, Colton Lane fifth. And it looks like all of them guys should be able to make it on fuel. So the question is, let's see, Jeffrey Ford's got 10 laps. He is going to be close. He is going to have to push about 23 laps here on a tank of fuel.
Absolutely right, Dave. And yep, I just confirmed looking at my calculations here. You are right. The drivers who stayed out the longest, like you talked about, Cotton Lane being one of them, 45, Eddie Hawks, Chris Perez. These drivers will have when they pitted in. Well, until the race ends, they will be running 21 laps on their tanks, and we did see some drivers going 23, 24 laps on their tires or on their tanks. So that means they'll have 2 to 3 laps to the good, or 2 to 3 laps good enough to the very end. So that's very, very good to see on their parts, and hopefully they can be able to get up to the front here. Speaking of them, actually, let's see where they are. We have the 60 of Cotton being shown 5th, Eddie Hawks 3rd, Chris Perez 2nd, and also there's one more driver we had talked about. Actually, I believe that's pretty much it, because Jeffrey Ford has 2 laps more on his tires compared to them.
Yeah, but take a look here. Here's the 93 of Patrick Mercier. He is running right there in that number 4 position. We did see him have to come down and take a splash of fuel, but he is running here in 4th, right about 14 and a half seconds behind our race leader, the 95 of Jeffrey Ford.
And Dave, something very interesting here. Looks like Jason Ashby and Paul D. Johnson both took only 2 tires compared to Patrick Mercier, who took 4 tires. So the question remains, will they have enough time to catch up to Patrick Mercier? Well, Patrick Mercier took 4 tires, so they most likely will be better off. At the same time, Jason Ashby and Johnson did gain a lot of time against Patrick Mercier, because the less tires you take, the less time you spend on pit road and the more time you spend racing. And as we speak, Patrick is being shown in 14 seconds behind the leader, while Jason Ashby and Paulie Johnson are being shown about 21 seconds behind the leader. So they are spread out quite a bit. And that's going to be about, let's see, about 7 seconds apart. So Patrick Mercier, Johnson, and Ashby are spread out about 7 seconds from each other. So do they have enough time to catch up to him is the question.
Yeah, and I'm also watching the gap here between the 95 of Jeffrey Ford and the 41 of Chris Perez. It is running right about 1.3 seconds. Looks like Chris Perez has actually got it down to 1.2, so he is actually gaining here. Actually, he's down to 1 second now, so he is gaining on the leader of Jeffrey Ford. So Jeffrey Ford may be backing it up, trying to make sure he has enough fuel, but that is letting the 41 of Chris Perez close that gap.
Yep, and Dave, we have crossed the 10 to go mark. We now have 10 laps remaining in tonight's race. It's go time for these drivers. All jokes aside, 5th gear for these machines, the Chevy Camaros and the Ford Mustangs and a few Toyota Camrys. I don't think we've been Toyota Camrys. I didn't see any Toyota Camrys on the track, or I haven't been paying attention to that. Yep, all these drivers do know it's now go time, and all those leaders of the previous leaders trying to catch up to the drivers up front. And Dave, look at that. The 93 Patrick Mercier, who was 14 seconds behind Jeffrey Ford, is now 12 seconds behind Jeffrey Ford and continues to gain on him due to him having full new tires, because he did pit in not too long ago. So it's just a matter of time. I'm not even sure if at this point he has enough time to catch him. We're going to be monitoring how many laps he's catching him every lap.
Yeah, he's got it down to 10.8, 10.7, so he is closing that gap. The question is, with only 9 laps remaining, soon to, I don't know if he's going to have enough time to catch the leaders there.
Yeah, it's very difficult to tell indeed. And Dave, for the back in the pack, the 5 of Jason Ashby and the 60 of Cotton Lane have found each other. And Cotton Lane is separating Paulie Johnson and Jason Ashby, who were nose to tail last time we checked on them. Right now, 60 of Lane is within a second of the 5 of Ashby. Well, actually looking at it, Johnson was able to get around the 60 of Cotton Lane. So 14 of Johnson and 5 of Jason Ashby are now back nose to tail, but spread out about almost 2 seconds, about 1.4 seconds away from each other. So they are trying their best to catch up. And 60 of Cotton Lane as well here, being shown about 1 second behind the 14 of Paulie Johnson, and further back in the pack, A13 Mike Taylor, 9 seconds behind the 60 of Cotton Lane. This just goes to show how green flag pit stops affect the field. And going back to 41 of Chris Perez in second place spot, he's now about 0.3 seconds behind 95 of Jeffrey Ford. He has actually caught him here. Entering turn 4, he will try and set him up on the exit of 4. Let's see what happens. Oh, he has a good run on him here. He's going to look to his inside. Is 95 Jeffrey Ford going to defend? Nope, he still stays high. So let him maintain his inside line. They'll stay side by side throughout the backstretch here, entering turn 3. '95 Jeffrey Ford was able to arc it from the high side and still maintain all his momentum, and the gap does increase between them. They both get around the 78 of Ron McManus, who is being shown in 11th place there, a lap down, exiting turn 4. The 95 Jeffrey Ford is able to again increase that gap.
Yeah, I do see a little right side damage there on the 41 machine of Chris Perez, but he doesn't look like he's affecting him, as we are now 6 laps remaining here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Can he get around the 95 of Jeffrey Ford?
Yep, and right now Perez trying to set him up. Him being 95 Jeffrey Ford, and for the back in the pack, Patrick Mercier jumping up to 3rd place spot here, only 7 seconds behind these 2 leaders. It's only a matter of time. You have 6 laps remaining, so will he be able to gain 7 seconds on the leader in only 6 laps? It's very possible. At the same time, it's nearly impossible, but that only gives us something to look forward to. As for the back in the pack, the 5 Jason Ashby able to narrow it down to 14 seconds, and the 14 of Johnson being shown 2 seconds behind, still 2 seconds behind the 5 of Jason Ashby. And Jason Ashby has his next victim in line, the 45 Eddie Hawks with a 4th place spot, but they are separated by about 5 seconds.
Yeah, meanwhile, going back up front, we are still seeing a battle here between the 41 of Chris Perez and the 95 of Jeffrey Ford. Patrick Mercier wants to see this battle, as he has closed the gap to under 5 seconds now, as Chris Perez looks to the inside of Jeffrey Ford coming into turn number 3. They are going to be side by side entering the turn. 41 Chris Perez backs it off a little earlier, gets back up into the bumper there of Jeffrey Ford, but Jeffrey Ford is doing a good job at maintaining that lead. But meanwhile, Patrick Mercier is now close to almost 4 seconds now behind him, with just 5 laps to go, 4 laps to go once we cross the start finish.
Well, Dave, with him closing that lead to only 4 seconds, that means he gained 3 seconds in 1 lap. That is very, very impressive. 41 Perez here backing off the 95 Jeffrey Ford, trying to set him up here in the exit of the turns. Perez does seem to be faster in the turns, but Jeffrey Ford is doing a better job on the exit of the turns, and the exit of the turns do matter the most, because that's where you get. Oh, and right now Jeffrey Ford is trying to defend his position, going left and right and doing what he can to try and defend it nicely down his part. So far it is working in his favor, but Patrick Mercier continues to gain on them.
Yeah, he's only closed it to 3.4 seconds now, but Chris Perez is all over Jeffrey Ford here, as he is trying a little bit of a different line that is going to let Jeffrey Ford pull out just a little bit. But here comes back Perez, and right there behind in the camera shot we saw Patrick Mercier working his way, now only 2.7 seconds behind him.
2.7 seconds behind them with 3 laps remaining, 3 laps to get the job done. Well, he has made it this far. He's not going to stop until he takes it away from both of them, but it's going to be very difficult. Catching them is one thing. At the same time, overtaking them, getting around them is another thing. So one thing is easier than the other. In this case, catching them is easier, or would be easier, than getting around both drivers, because they won't let him by without a fight. And that, speaking of Patrick Mercier here, he does have him in his sights. Let's see, the gap is now about 1.9 seconds. So he was able to gain 6 seconds on them in a matter of only 4 to 5 laps. And for the back in the pack here, the 60 of Cotton Lane catching the 13 of Mike Taylor. They are now spread out about 1 second.
Yeah,
not sure what happened, Dave. We have some trouble on the track. Looks like the 14 of Johnson is in the grass as we speak. Not sure what happened to him. I just noticed he went from the 7th place spot to 9th place and being shown a lap down. So he had some bad luck.
Yeah, it's highly unfortunate, but back up front, we have still got a battle for the lead. Chris Perez, Jeffrey Ford, now Patrick Mercier only 1.1 second with 2 laps to go here as they are coming down the backstretch. Patrick Mercier right there, he can see him, he can smell that checkered flag. He wants him, he wants these two to keep battling, as he is now under 1 second behind him.
Oh my God, Dave, I just noticed one thing. The 14 of Johnson did run out of gas. That is exactly why he was in the grass when we checked on him. But 95 Jeffrey Ford right now here on the exit of turn 4. Cross the start finish for the checkered flag. Patrick Mercier in their sights, catching the 41 of Chris Perez. Perez right now most likely worried, trying to think about a way to defend his spot if anything. Patrick Mercier, the big run on him, is going to look to his outside. Nope, he backs off here exiting turn 1. The gap will increase. Mercier almost smacks the wall on the exit of 1, was able to stay off it. Fordham Perez is motivated enough to catch the 95 before he catches up to him here on the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, here comes Perez. They have actually pulled away a little bit over Patrick Mercier as these two are battling, but here comes Patrick. He is just there waiting on one of them to make a mistake. Coming into turn number 3. They are coming to the checkered flag. They can see the checkered flag. Here comes Patrick Mercier to the inside there of the 41 of Chris Perez. He is going to get around him. He has got his sights now set on Jeffrey Ford there as they are coming down the start finish line. Jeffrey Ford, big wreck! Big wreck right there, coming to the checkered flag between the 93 of Patrick Mercier, Chris Perez, and Jeffrey Ford. But Jeffrey Ford is going to take the checkered flag.
Dave, if we can, please, let's focus on the 41 of Chris Perez there on the exit of turn 1. Say exactly what happened, please.
We are going to pull up our Dre Broadcasting instant replay here, focusing on the 41 of Chris Perez. We are going to take a wind back here, taking a look as we see, looks like the 93 of Patrick Mercier got into the back end of Jeffrey Ford. So we are going to take a look at that from our blimp view to see if we can see exactly what happened here. Taking a look, Patrick Mercier gets a good run coming out of turn number 4. He is going to get to that back bumper of Jeffrey Ford. Jeffrey Ford comes up, and then Chris Perez right into the entrance wall. That is going to hurt these guys for a while, Sean.
Absolutely, Dave. That was very unfortunate for Chris Perez and the 93 of Patrick Mercier, and that was some hard impact. Chris Perez head on into a standing wall. Nobody would survive that impact, but bring it home with the 95 Jeffrey Ford, 5 Jason Ashby second, and the 45 Eddie Hawks in the third place spot. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be interviewing the top 3 drivers: Jeffrey Ford, Jason Ashby, and the 45 of Eddie Hawks. Stay tuned. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have the top 3 drivers up here. That's the 95 Jeffrey Ford, Jason Ashby, and the 45 Eddie Hawks. We'll start from the top to the bottom with the 95 Jeffrey Ford. Got a cop there, buddy. Jeffrey Ford, got a cop there, bud.
Yes, I do. You got me, Sean?
Oh, loud and clear. How are you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. That was pretty much probably one of the best races I've had in my racing career in 8 years.
We are glad to hear that. And holy cow, did you do an amazing job tonight, being able to win on the fuel strategy there after having a total of, in your case, I believe you had only 2 green flag pit stops, while everybody else had 3, and you were able to maintain your pace for the long run, all race long, which did benefit you until the very end. But give us a race recap or race summary of your race tonight, please.
Basically, I just did like you said. After about 15 laps, it looked like everyone got strung out, so I figured it was going to be a fuel run. And I knew I could get probably about 23 to 24 laps on average. So I knew I was going to be close to running out there after my last fuel stop, and I just started to conserve. And then there on the last 5 laps, Chris finally caught me, and I was just hoping that he didn't have enough tires to actually get around me. I knew he was faster, but I was going to make him go on the outside if he wanted to pass me, and I just didn't think he had the tires to pass me on the outside, but he definitely was a faster car on those last 5 laps.
Oh, sounds good. Absolutely, bro. You did an amazing job tonight. And yeah, we noticed you tried doing your defensive line. That was impressive on your part. It did work in your favor. Once it comes down to it, you have to do what you have to do to get the win on Jeff. This now gives you your second win of the season and your third top 5. I want to congratulate you on that. That's very impressive. You know, we've noticed you've had some bad races here and there, but tonight this does make up for it. Last week at Chicagoland, you finished in the 8th place spot behind Lance Marsh, and tonight finishing in first place after starting the 15th place spot, gaining 14 spots overall. That is very, very nice and very, very impressive, and headed the right direction. Well, by next week we'll be racing at Auto Club Speedway. Take from you there.
Just trying to get consistent finishes. That's pretty much all. Just trying to stay around the top 5, top 10, and hopefully that keeps me in the hunt there at the end.
Once congratulations on your second win and your third top 5, and look forward to seeing you again next week. Auto Club. Have a good one. Have a good night and good rest of the week, buddy.
You too, Sean. Thank you.
And that was tonight's race winner, the 95 of Jeffrey Ford, but right behind him is the 5 of Jason Ashby. How are you tonight, buddy?
Doing great, man. How are you?
Doing good too, thank you. Well, Jason, tonight you did an amazing job. We know you started in the 6th place spot, but you weren't there for too long. We noticed you battling a lot of drivers all race long tonight, trying to make the outside line work every now and then, going to the inside line, just pretty much following the fastest driver, or the fastest driver, and the fastest race line, which did benefit you here in the long run. You had some amazing pit stops. And tell us about the last round of green flag pit stops, because it did seem as though some drivers were going to be able to make it and some were not going to be able to make it. So how did you feel when you noticed that Jeffrey Ford and 41 of Perez and also some other drivers behind there were going to be able to make it, 45 Eddie Hawks included, but you had to pit one more time? How did that make you feel?
Well, first thing is the second pit stop. I didn't make the pit, and I was too busy trying to follow the pace car. Didn't make the pit, so my strategy totally changed at that point. But the last set of pit stops, I ended up just taking 2 tires, trying to get a little bit of ground there, and just didn't have enough time.
Oh, copy that. Very, very sorry to hear about that. Misfortune on the pit stop or pit strategy. But man, you still did an amazing job regardless. You had the 14 of Johnson on your tail there. When you guys were pitting in, you and Johnson tonight battled a lot all race long, and it did really pay off for you. He might in second place, but unfortunately he did. I believe he ran out of gas. His engine just sputtered a couple of times and shut off with about less than 5 laps to go, I believe. But you were able to pull through that. And Jason, this gives you your third top 5 of the whole entire season. So we do want to congratulate you on that. And buddy, next week we'll be racing at Auto Club Speedway. How much experience do you have at Auto Club?
A pretty good Auto Club. It's a fun track. It's a driver's track, so I'm excited for that and hopefully be more consistent.
Well, buddy, with the performance here tonight, we look forward to seeing you, and hopefully the momentum shifts over to Auto Club in points here. Looking at it, you are currently running up the top 10 in points, so it's very good to see you being able to maintain the top 10 after having a few bad races, and also finishing the 6th place spot last week at Chicagoland. Oh, but before we let you go, any final words?
Yeah, I just like to thank my teammate Steve. He can't be here this week, but and of course everybody at PRL, the Brake Mod, and High Torque. Appreciate everybody, and of course you guys at Dre. Appreciate it very much.
Well, congratulations on your second place finish tonight, and look forward to seeing you again next week at Auto Club. Have a good night.
Thanks, man. Go Eddie.
And that was the second place driver, Jason Ashby, but right behind him is the 45 of Eddie Hawks. How are you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing pretty good. How you doing, Sean?
I am doing good too, thank you. Well, Eddie tonight did an amazing job, and Eddie, you are a driver who keeps a low profile almost every single race and usually gets involved and really matters the most. You have had a couple of bad races every now and then, but tonight was a very different one for you. You were able to have a good fuel strategy, which did end up placing you here in the top 3. Tell us about your race tonight.
Yeah, I wasn't one of the fastest cars out there, that's for sure, but early on, Chris and I kind of decided we were going to ride around a little bit, save a little tire, and turned out to be a fuel mileage race. So kind of worked out for the both of us. Well, it worked out for Chris. He made it to the next last lap, but it sure worked out for me.
Oh, 10 for that. I see what you're talking about there, but man, you did an amazing job despite that. And Eddie Hawks, this gives you your first top 5, and it's amazing to see your first top 5 being a podium finish, rounding up the top 3 finishes. And Eddie, how much experience do you have at Auto Club Speedway?
Yeah, I've raced there a few times. Did a lot of B Open races there. So it's a fun track. It's like your Vegas and Texas and those. So it should be some good racing.
Oh, absolutely. We definitely do look forward to that. And once again, we hope to see your momentum shift over even greater, seeing you 2 spots higher and taking the win at Auto Club next week. That would be amazing to see. And I want to congratulate you once again on your first top 5 finish of the season. And before you go, any final words?
Yeah, actually, I mean, it was good. Like I say, I've had a string of bad luck here for a while. But yeah, first I'd like to say hi to Sammy if he's watching. He's my teammate. You know, he's deployed over in on the ship. So if he's watching, hope you're doing well, buddy. I'd like to thank High Torque, Texas, Brake Mod. It's helping put this league on. PRL, Jerome, Chris. They do a hell of a good job. And thank you guys, man. You guys do a good show too.
What do you think for the kind words, Eddie? Congratulations on your podium finish tonight, and look forward to seeing you again next week at Auto Club. Have a good night, buddy.
You too. Cheers, guys.
And that was the 45 of Eddie Hawks, but we do have tonight's race sponsor, the Road Trip RV Rental. The Road Trip RV Rental by Paul D. Johnson, and the sponsor once again, Paul D. Johnson himself. Got a call up there, Paul?
Hey guys, I'm here.
How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Really wish I could have had one of those podium spots. They were kind of up for grabs in that race.
10-4. But man, you still did an amazing job despite your bad luck there towards the very end. You did an amazing job. We saw you had some great pit stops. You ended up having 3 pit stops in total. With the 5 Jason Ashby, you were behind him for the longest time early on in the race. Before that, you were battling a lot up front, trying to battle for the race lead, for 2nd place, 3rd place, and just pretty much trying to keep yourself up into the top 5. But tell us about what happened there the last couple of laps. It seems as though you ran out of gas.
Nope, I crashed. So I was doing pretty good there. We made a decision. We made a bad decision to stay out on that one caution. We should have pit because that set us up for having to pit twice more, whereas you saw everyone else could only had to pit once. And so we stayed out, and Patrick was just, I don't know, that guy was crazy fast. So we couldn't catch him. Jason and I were kind of working a little bit together, and we decided to try taking 2 tires and see what would happen. I got into the wall once, not hard, but hard enough that I had about 21 seconds optional repairs. Decided not to take care of them because it didn't seem to be affecting me too much. And we decided to take 2 tires, and it didn't matter. Patrick had so much time on us; he still beat us as we came out of the pits. And then about 3 to go there, I hit that wall coming out of turn 1, and I hit it just hard enough. It got loose and shot to the inside wall. I hit the inside wall with the front end and blew my motor. So unfortunately, with 3 to go, I took myself out. But hey, that happens. So.
Oh, very sorry about that there, Paul, and that does explain a lot. That clarifies it, because I was wondering, how do you run out of gas after you just pitted in? So I thought maybe you had a hole in your fuel gas tank there, but I am glad you clarified that. I'm very sorry about your misfortune there towards the very end. But Paul, you are the sponsor of tonight's race, the Road Trip RV Rental. Tell us a little bit about the family-owned business.
Yeah, it's just a really small business. My wife and I own. We rent out Class C RVs, usually for tailgating. Hopefully headed to Talladega maybe this year, 24-hour Daytona next year. But we rent that out, and we just started it last year and decided to sponsor the race and maybe help get the name out, get it out for any of our viewers if they want to rent it for. It's a great rig for taking races and tailgating. It's got out like the whole 9 yards.
Oh man, that's a very, very good thing right there. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, check them out. And do you guys have any website that these guys can take a look at?
Yeah, for sure. They can check out roadtriprvrental.com, and that's going to be our website. They can book straight through there, or they can actually look up our phone number on there and just give me a call directly.
You heard it there, folks. Once again, roadtriprvrental.com. So you guys can have that luxury right there and enjoy it. Well, buddy, before I let you go, any final words?
No, thank you guys for the broadcast. It's always fun to go back and watch, and just wanted to thank teammate Lance. Kind of got bad luck there early, so he took care of the bad luck at the beginning, and I took care of it at the end. So.
Oh man, very sorry to hear about your bad luck as a team there, but look forward to seeing you guys back again next week, so you guys can have an even better race than you had here tonight at Indianapolis. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be Paul D. Johnson with roadtriprvrental1.com, roadtriprvrental.com. Check them out there for the if you guys would like to rent. Well, buddy, thanks for taking the time to come up here with us, and look forward to seeing you again next week at Auto Club.
No problem. We look forward to being there.
And that was 14 of Paul D. Johnson. That does round up our interviews. Well, thank you for joining us once again for the Road Trip RV Rental by Paul D. Johnson for round number 9 of the Precision Racing League American iRacing Sunday Series, sponsored by HighTalkTexas.com and the Brake Mod at thebrakemod.com. The next race is going to be tomorrow. The next race is going to be tomorrow, but the next race for PRL will be next week Sunday for round number 10, entitled Top Gun Motorcycle Training 100. That's Top Gun Motorcycle Training 100 at Auto Club Speedway. And the next broadcast is tomorrow night to the Extreme Motorsports 99 K&N Pro Series at Dover International Speedway, entitled Lucas Oil 200. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can get notified every single time we do go live, because we do broadcast more than 6 nights a week, so you guys have unlimited entertainment coming to you live. Thank you for joining us once again. I am Sean Zulu and Dave Everly, and have a good one.